Hi everybody, just me today. Unfortunately, Jane has hurt her back a little bit, so she's not going to be with us for this session. But we've got some interesting stuff ahead. We've got 3 guests, all of which are patrons, and they are going to be telling us some of their psychic stories. And they're from all over the world. We've got somebody from India, we've got someone from Cornwall, and we've got somebody also from America. So, and that just worked out like that. Just happened to be the way it is. I'm going to be looking to the side too because my monitor's gone here. So hi, Justin. And so I'm you see me looking away from the screen a lot. That's what's happening. And yes, so those of you that are patrons, hiya, Creative Living. For the first time we've seen you, I think. And yeah, good to see you. Suzanne Irene. Get better soon, Jane. Yes, she's been quite in a lot of pain actually. It was quite nasty, but she'll be all right. I don't think she's damaged anything. It's just muscular, I think. Hiya, Radhika, and hiya, Tumoral 2. Oh, what names you guys have! Patricia Schultz, hi from Germany. I think we've seen you before, Patricia. I seem to remember. Dubai. It's always interesting to know where you guys come from because it's interesting how we kind of all connect like this. I'm sure we share an energy. It's like us all being in the same room. Yeah, Jane will be on the mend. She's the second day with it. We got her some ice pack to put on it, so she's going to be fine. So if you want to send some healing thoughts, do feel free. Tampa, Florida. Yeah, well. And from Toronto. Yeah, I never make any predictions about Canada, do I? I'm going to have to do some of those. Another one from Canada too. Yeah, there's a lot of Canadians following us lately, I've noticed, with your comments. So nice to see you guys. Kathy Murray, hiya. Always put your pets up, guys, don't you? Hello from Ohio. Ah, the swing state. This is the one that Trump always talks about, isn't it? And the Isle of Wight, just down the road from us. David Icke comes from the Isle of Wight too, doesn't he? And from London. Well, we're going to have some interesting evening tonight, I think, because we've got people from all over the world all connecting with our energies together like this. And we're going to have some really interesting stories. We've been talking a little bit offline just before you come on and we go on. And there's been some really nice chat. You know, it's funny how spiritual people, like all you guys linking in now, you know, it's like how all spiritual people somehow, when you meet, you can just seem to connect just like that. It's amazing how it happens. From India again, sending thoughts to Jane. Thank you, guys. She's going to be fine, I'm sure. And from Holland, from the Netherlands. Yes, I worked in Holland for a while. Hoe laat is dit? That's the only words I know in Dutch, because I always wanted to know when it was time to go home, because I was working there. And Devon, yes, one of our guests is from Cornwall, so we can discuss the correct way of having a cream tea, isn't it? You have different scones or scones. And from Wales, hi, yeah, and Sweden. Yeah, we've had quite a few people from Sweden, actually. Aldershot, that's not far from us as well. Right, well, it's going to be an interesting evening, and thanks for all joining us again. So, like I said, if you are, I know a lot of you that watch this are already patrons and subscribe to the channel, and that thanks a lot, because that's helping us to move this forward big time. But yeah, if any of you that are out there watching this are patrons, if you next time I put a message up on the patron site, you know, let me know and you can come on as well. So if you're watching this for the first time as a patron, it could be you chatting if you like. And we're going to do a lot of interesting talks and about psychic experiences. And so I kind of want to widen the net with these things too. So it can be all sorts of things you can talk about. I'd be interested to hear from anybody that wants to talk about UFOs, because I always find those type of experiences are very interesting to talk with. And near-death experiences too, I'm particularly interested in. That's if you've had one of those. And what we'll be doing the interviews, and then you'll be able to ask questions as well. So I'll interview our guests one at a time, and then you can ask your questions, and it can open up all sorts of interesting thoughts and ideas from the discussions that we have initially with them. So our first guest tonight is Vicky Howell, and Vicky's from America, I believe. Hi, Vicky.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. It was nice chatting to you earlier, actually. We were talking a little bit in advance, but obviously not about the full things you're going to tell us about today. But I believe you had some interesting experiences with a Ouija board, didn't you?
Yes, I did. It was actually my first foray into the paranormal. I was about 13 years old.
I know. I've been there myself.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we moved into this huge old house, and the front room was actually a log cabin, and they built the rest of the house around it. Well, we had just moved in a few weeks earlier, and some family friends of ours were there. Their parents were there, and my parents were all on the other side of the house working outside on something. And their two daughters and I were in my room, which was the only bedroom downstairs. So we're playing with the Ouija board, and we're asking if there are any spirits there, and the usual kid stuff.
Mhm.
Well, and I think I said we had a candle lit, of course, and I think I said, if there's anyone here, please give us a sign. Well, about that time, there was a huge banging on the outside of the wall, and there was no one around.
Uh-huh.
And so we're talking, and we keep going and asking questions, and all of a sudden, or I think we asked, was that you doing the knocking? And about that time, I had two windows in my bedroom. The drapes fell from my window at the same time. Needless to say, we shut that down pretty quick after that. And
so did you get some confirmation who was communicating here? Was it somebody
no,
that you knew? Was it was it nonsense or what?
I don't know. We had heard a little bit of history about who owned the house before that, and it was an older man who lived alone, and we never really knew a whole lot about the house. It was beautiful, and there were all this patios built that were dug into the ground and laid brick and fish ponds, just a gorgeous place. But we never found out who it was that did it. And my mother ended up burning the Ouija board. And I learned later that might not have been a good idea. They
are quite valuable, the old ones.
Yes. But it was a little scary for someone about 13 years old. And I've gotten more as have gotten older. My psychic skills have developed. When I started in my mid 40s, I really started getting more interest, getting more open. And I had always been, when I was a kid, but kind of, how it is, they shut you down with it. They don't want you to, people don't know how to react to it. And as you get older and become more of yourself, then, and know yourself better, you kind of open up a little bit more.
Well, the Ouija board can be a bit of a scary start, can't it? Because I remember my friends and I mean, we are, again, about 13 years old. I think that's the time we get interested in those things, isn't it? We went over the graveyard doing it, and scared the living daylights out of ourselves, because obviously the thing starts to move around, and it really did start to do things,
Yeah.
And I mean, we wouldn't go near the graveyard for ages after that.
No. Well,
a long walk home,
Yeah, I believe that we asked is it the former owner, and it moves to yes and spells things out. I don't remember exactly. That episode scared the daylights out of me too. After that, I can barely remember what we were asking and that kind of thing, because we were so scared. And we swore it was my brothers knocking on the side of the house. Well, we went outside, and they weren't. They were out there on the other side of the house with our parents. So there was no one else around that could have done it.
Yeah. I mean, did you get any intelligent messages through? I remember we did one. I run a circle. I used to run a circle, and we're doing it online again later, but not Ouija boards. They wanted to try a Ouija board, all my group, and I said, okay, we'll do a Ouija board just as because I said, why do you need a Ouija board when you're all developing as mediums? You know, you don't need that clumsy device, you know, and with all the problems that can be associated with it, because it draws energy from the unconscious mind and your fears and things, as well as possibly from the spirit. But anyway, the message we got was Darren will live at Rose Cottage, and lo and behold, he gets a message through. He was looking for a place to live, and he ended up living at a place called Rose Cottage. So it did, and it made sense. So there's obviously something in it. But you know, you get a lot of also nonsense messages, don't you, as well, when your kids, particularly.
Yes, and we weren't developed enough in those type of things to know what to ask, or you know, how to ask them, or I think it really can open you up into a big can of worms. You know, I really do. I think it opens a channel. So
yeah, I think it opens a lot of fear in people, because I mean, it can put you off spiritual work because it's scared. You get scared young with it, particularly when kids go for it early on.
Yeah.
It has been used in spiritualism sometimes. There was a whole when Myers, I think it was, died, who was a very high up member of the Society of Psychical Research. I mean, he gave messages in different ways around the world, one of which came through the Ouija board. Some came through table tilting, some came through trance mediums. And when they brought all the information together, they were able to get the message that he wanted to give to prove life after death. It's a long story, that one. But so you do get intelligent stuff through. I mean, I also knew a group of people that can use the Ouija board, and it said all of you around this Ouija board will die. And I think there was 5 of them, and 3 of them died soon after that was predicted, you know. So the two that were left, who I interviewed, I only interviewed one of the 2 that was left. He was absolutely terrified that he was going to die all the time. He was living with this fear. I mean, 2 of them were accidents, and 1 was the suicide of the people around the table. So, you know, I don't think I've never come across a positive story around the Ouija board. I always feel that they're negative.
Yeah.
So, you know, if anybody's got any questions about this, do start putting them in. Yeah, Ouija, not easy to spell. O-U-I-G-I. Ouija boards inviting portals to open the doors you may regret. I think that's pretty right, Claire, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because, you know, what are we opening up to there? You know, it's not necessarily the spirit world. I think what we connect with so often is our fears, our unconscious. I mean, did you find that people's fears were coming through?
Yes. Yes.
You know,
mine did. Yes.
Specific fears that you had, sometimes that comes through too.
Yeah. I always felt like I was being watched, and that I really did not like the dark at that point. And that's when I started having trouble sleeping as a teenager. I had insomnia really bad. And I have a feeling it may have been that was the start of that, because we were living in that house when I was having those problems.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's such a thing as demonic forces. That's a whole nother question. But I certainly think we do create energies. I mean, in Tibet, there's a very interesting idea that they have this idea of the tulpa, where they meditate on a spirit, an illusionary spirit, and almost create a being that can serve you. You know, it's like a created spirit. And they did this also in Canada, where a group of people sat together visualizing this idea of this spirit person, and gave him a whole character with a personality and a history, and how he died jumping off a castle and things. And that spirit took a life of its own and started coming through other mediums, and started coming through other circles and through Ouija boards and things. And yet it had been a made up spirit, you know. So what energies are we dealing with on those low levels? You know, they're kind of, I think, sometimes artificial type of things. Guffey, I guess it's the spirit world uncensored without the protection of your spirit guide. Yeah. Did you call upon your spirit guides or anything like that? I guess not.
No, we didn't know enough about things like that then to even try.
Yeah. Because you're doing it as a laugh, aren't you, as a kid? Most of the ones.
That's what we thought. I mean, I got that board as a Christmas present from my grandmother, of all things. You know? She didn't know, and we sure didn't know. So that was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a game. Yeah. I'm sure in the right hands they're okay. I mean, with a group of mediums working together, it's fine. You know, just like, I mean, table tilting's the other thing the Victorians used to do. I don't know if you've ever tried that. Have you? Where a group of you have a kind of an easy to move table, but everybody puts their hand on it, and then the table will start to shake and rattle and start to move around, and nobody's pushing it. It just starts on its own, and it will tap out messages. I mean, we had that. We did that in a circle, and that was really interesting. But again, monotonous, because I had to go through the whole alphabet each time to get a letter. It was stop on the numbered letter, So, that was a fascinating sort of idea. We got another message coming. Nana Rosebud, Ouija boards should only be used by mediums and such so that they protect the people doing it.
Absolutely.
I think we'd agree with that, wouldn't we, really?
Oh, yes.
And even then, it's not always healthy for the mediums either.
No.
I think it's an interesting experiment, and I think it's safe if you've got the right protection around you. Mm-hmm. But I think if you're tapping into all your unconscious fears and things like that,
I just read Alana's question. It says, I worked at a school where they had a Ouija board in a toy box. One kid that was always using it without supervision was very disturbed and acted out.
Yeah. People do get extremely frightened from it. I mean, the people that were with you, did they have bad time afterwards? Or the people that were also around?
I spoke with them a few times after that, and the other girls were, they were kind of feeling the same things I felt. Very uneasy, very nervous a lot, that kind of thing. But I don't think any of us ever touched one again after that episode.
I've seen absolutely skeptical people have messages from Ouija boards. I mean, there was a story in our family about, I don't remember it properly, but a very skeptical person came into the room when Nan was doing the Ouija board with them. And something came through, and the skeptical person absolutely went white as a sheet because it named his secret lover. That's what it was. There was
my gosh,
a bit of real bad stuff, and so there's skeletons in the closet are going to come out through the Ouija board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll have to ask my mum the full story. I only remember the outline of it, but all sorts of stuff come. Do you see? I mean, people want to communicate with the spirit world, don't they? And obviously, a Ouija board is a very nice machine, as it were, and it's very almost provable to a person when you use a Ouija board if it spells something out. But surely a good message from a medium that can give you some really good evidence, as we call it. I mean, when a medium gets clairvoyance and clairaudience in particular and hears the words, I mean, sometimes when you're demonstrating in a spiritualist church, for example, you'll stand up there and you'll give the first name, the surname, the road people came from. I've even done things where I've given telephone numbers and lottery numbers they do each week. I mean, and other mediums too, not just me, but all of us good mediums can get that type of information through. Why on earth do you need a Ouija board? You're going to get a protected message, a safe message, and hopefully some spiritual upliftment, rather than, I think, the slippery slope that Ouija boards give us. Yeah, I'm a medium and I don't use it, no way. Well, yeah, are others here mediums and would use it or not? I mean, maybe some of you are mediums and have used it. I've seen glasses smashed too when it's being pushed around, and things like that, and things fly across the room.
Oh, yeah. The fact that both of these sets of curtains just dropped to the floor at the same time, and they were up there very solid. There was no way, they could have just both fallen at the same time for no reason, Yeah.
We had a weird thing happen. It wasn't when we were doing the Ouija board. It was when we were doing the table tilting. We were in this quite dark old building. It wasn't a spooky house or anything. It was a bit rickety. It was an old skates hut actually, but it was a bit old. It was dark. It was musky. and the kettle boiled, right, when we were doing the table tilting. But the weird thing about it was the kettle, when we checked it, the kettle wasn't even plugged in.
Oh my gosh.
An unplugged kettle had boiled, and with no way we can prove it to anybody, because I mean we all saw it. But how on earth did that happen? What sort of energies was being pulled from us to boil a kettle? I suppose it's interesting. I mean, it's certainly interesting, but I'm not sure it's healthy.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think I would ever use one again, no matter how developed I am. It was a bad experience.
Yeah. So I think if anybody's got anything, also when this is finished, if you've got any stories about the Ouija board, put them in the comments later on.
Yeah.
It's always handy to hear people's stories and share them. And sometimes those negative stories might help put people off, actually, because I wouldn't recommend using the Ouija board. And I don't think there's a safe way to use it, really, because you're always going to be pulling off the lowest of energies, aren't you, with that? So yeah, okay. So we got another one. I made a Ouija board in prison, and it said it was Satan, devil, and Lucifer, and I wanted Twilight, and it wanted Twilight Souls, which is my first name. What, Twilight Soul? I saw many demonic things after I'd always seen supernatural flow. Yeah, I know. I mean, again, that's not a good place to do it, really. I mean, to do a Ouija board in a prison setting, God knows what energies are around a place like that. Because I think you're pulling the energy of all the people around you. You're connecting, like when we're all talking like this and we're all connecting all around the world. And particularly when I do those meditation things online, there's a feeling that we all connect, isn't there? There's a feeling that we can feel our energies connecting no matter how far away we are from each other. And the same thing happens, but in a negative way, I think, with the Ouija board. We're connecting on an unconscious level, all our unconscious minds.
And I think it kind of pulls out the shadow side of people too.
Yeah, it does seem to. Raw energy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, thank you for that story.
Thank you.
It was really interesting, and yeah, thank you, Vicky, because it was kind of, I mean, it's thought provoking. I think when we talk about Ouija boards, and if anybody else out there wants to come on with us, who are on the patrons, got similar topics. I mean, the dark side, and the light side. We're trying to cover it all. But thanks for joining us today, and I'm going to move on to our next guest.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to Sheila next. Hiya, Sheila. You're all the way from near Delhi, I believe you're tuned in.
That's right, yeah. It's kind of strange. I was born in India, then I lived in England for 37 years, and then I've come back again. So, toing and froing. But
yeah. And it must be quite late there, I should think, when we're doing this.
It's nearly midnight. Yeah.
There we go. Well, you're very dedicated. Thank you for joining us. So you had a strange dream about your brother, I think it was, you said?
That's right. Yeah, there are two incidences. The first I'd like to talk about, it happened many years ago. I'm talking about maybe 35 years ago, but I can still remember it clearly. He was at university and I was still in school. I was in the final year of that time. We used to call it sixth form. So I would have been about 17 or 18. And he was in the first year. And my brother was taking a combined honours degree because he wanted to be a sports physiotherapist. So physical education, PE, was his main subject. And I had a strange dream. I dreamt that my grandmother was holding him by the shoulder, almost trying to carry him.
Oh, no, we lost you. I think we've lost the transmission there. Oh, what a shame. Have we got her back?
I disappeared.
Yes, we lost you for a bit. Good.
Well, I wasn't using any special techniques. I disappeared and I've come back.
It's probably us talking about Ouija boards earlier. I lost my monitor here. That's why I keep looking to the side.
No Ouija board. Yeah, so then I was having this dream and I dreamt that my grandmother was with my brother and she was crying and my brother was saying, he was limping with his left leg. He was limping, and he was saying, the doctor is saying, I can't ever do sports again. And I felt tremendously sad in this dream, because I thought, this is his passion. He loves sports, you know, he loved football. And why is this happening? Anyway, I woke up and I didn't think anything of it. 1 week later, my brother phoned me from university. Actually, he was at the doctor's, and he said, Sheila, don't say anything to mum and dad. I'm at the hospital, and I'm all right, but I'm having a bit of a problem. I'm going to come home. And I got very frightened, but I didn't say anything. And the dream didn't even come in my head. It didn't register. And he came home, and when I opened the door, he was limping with his left leg. So that immediately unnerved me. I was quite scared. And I said, what's wrong? And he said, well, they found some minor arthritis in my ankle. And the doctor is saying, you can't do sports for at least 1 year, maybe longer. Word for word. This
wasn't quite as bad. No. In the dream origin, he was never going to be able to do sports.
Indeed, but I'll just finish now what actually happened. So ultimately, then he went back to university, and his girlfriend, now his wife, he actually met his future wife there, said to him, Robin, you can't, my brother's name is Robin, you can't miss 1 year of your degree. You're going to have to change your subject. You're going to have to do that. So my brother said, well, what can I do? You know, I want to do PE. She said, well, you were really good at law. You were very good at law. You did it as an A level, you know, when you were 17, 18. Why don't you change? Don't waste time waiting for at least a year with physical education. So he said, all right. And he took law. And my brother became one of the youngest judges in the UK. He's a judge. And effectively, although I can't say that he stopped sports because that was his passion, but he did stop it as his eventual profession. And there was no way on earth that he thought about becoming a barrister and then a judge. There was no way he was interested. It's complete opposite of what he would have wanted.
It's not football, is it? I mean, being a judge, blimey. You know.
The thing is, he is mad about football, and here's the bit which, you know, is the saving grace, I guess. He had 2 daughters, and he's football coach in the evening of their women's football team. So ultimately, he did get what he wanted.
Okay.
But the profession completely changed. The studies completely changed. He never really did physical education as a profession, which he wanted to do in the end. And it was many years later that he was able to do this football side of things.
I suppose it was a blessing in disguise for him, really. I mean, does he enjoy being a judge?
Yeah, he loves it. He absolutely loves it.
So, well, he pays well, I should think, compared to, you know, most sportsmen. You either make it as a sportsman or nothing, isn't it? Really, it's a winner gets all.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the thought that it was his left leg and he was limping, and what he said to me that, you know, I can't do sports for at least a year, maybe longer. You know, it was bizarre. And as Vicky was saying previously, I think it kind of opened, if you like, almost a portal, because then I started not so much having dreams, but asked for information. I would get it in different ways as well.
Mm. Yeah, I think things like that, like the Ouija board experience, and also you're having a dream of a prophecy like that. It kind of shows you there's something in it, doesn't it? And and I think it's like we almost have to believe it, you know, in a way. Once we know that it can happen, then like the universe kind of lets it open up for us, doesn't it? It's like when I saw Doris Stokes and Gordon Higginson and people like that who are brilliant mediums that used to give incredible evidence. For me, it kind of was a key that made go click. My God, this is possible. And the next thing you knew, your own clairvoyance is possible. And every time you give a message and you do a little bit more, you realize and reinforce the fact this is a real thing. You know, even now, when Jane and myself do mediumship, I think, how am I getting this? You know, where's this coming from? You know, you start to not believe in yourself, you know. But then I think we get through life, these sort of turning points where something really kind of important happens to us that sort of makes you think, yeah, reality is not what I thought it was. It's completely different, you know.
Absolutely. And what happened subsequently, as I say, I would ask for information, I would get it. And another small example, our Indian viewers and yourself, having been in India, you will know that there are some very famous temples. And my husband's cousin, his name was Ravi, he was really in a bad shape. He was at hospital and he had cirrhosis of the liver. And we knew that, you know, his end was near. And I went to a temple in a place called Nainital, which is in Uttarakhand, which is near the Himalayas, basically, northern part. And at the time, I went in there and I just closed my eyes and I asked the goddess, give me a sign. I know that it's your will, whether he lives or not, but just give me one sign, tell me what I have to tell the family. And I closed my eyes and I remember it to this day. I saw the number 4 and it was burning. It was like golden. And the number 4 was what I saw. So I came back and I said to my husband, he was waiting outside for me at the mandir, at the temple. And he said, what is it? What's the matter? And I said, I've seen this number 4. I know that it's a date. I don't know if it means 4 months from now or the 4th or whatever, but I know that it's a date. I can't tell you why. It's what I'm feeling. And 2 weeks later, his cousin died. And the day that he died was the 4th.
Wow.
And more importantly, it was Janmashtami, which is the birthday of Krishna. And we Hindus believe if you are born or you die on a special auspicious day, you achieve moksha, which is salvation of the soul. So his parents, bless him, his parents were still alive. Can you imagine what they were going through? That gave some small comfort to them. And I had already publicized to the family that this was what I was seeing. I knew it was a date. But it's a strange thing, Craig. I knew that it wasn't something good, but I kind of felt at peace with that feeling of seeing that date. And I think because it was Janmashtami, it was an auspicious day that he went, it brought a lot of comfort to the family.
You were telling me earlier on, just before we went on air too, about the significance of some of these ideas in India too. Particularly, you were telling about the astrology, weren't you?
Yeah.
I was amused when you told me about when the time of day people got married.
Yes, I was married. All our Indian viewers here will know. So the whole process, marriage is considered a yoga or a yog. It is a discipline. Marriage is considered because you need it. I'm sure all the married people here know you need it. Once you're married, you need a lot of discipline. So we believe that you are married to the same person 7 times. You come back 7 times. And there are various rituals you have to do if you believe in this. So in my case, I got up early in the morning and my father said to me, you can eat fruits, any non-veg fruits and milk, what they call sattvic foods, as you know.
Yeah.
Or you can do it by the book. I ate nothing. From the time I got up till the following day, 1:30 in the morning.
That was your wedding breakfast.
Yeah, my wedding breakfast was horrible. It was all cold. So you wake up, you have to evoke your ancestors anytime you are doing a special blessing. And according to the astrologer, I had to get married at 1:30 in the morning. So that's why I like to hit him now. If I could see him, I whack him.
Well, that's as good as me and Jane, actually, because we couldn't get a date for our weddings. The only date we could get was the 1st of April, April Fool's Day. And we set up, and everybody thought because we got married in a spiritualist church that it was an April Fool's joke, because I had done rather big jokes on the family before on that scale. Yeah.
And the date, the time, and I said to you earlier on when we were talking, so I'm born on the 29th. My wedding anniversary is the 29th. My son is also born on the 29th. And there's too much of a coincidence, you know. Even my husband, he's born on the 20th, but of course in numerology, if you add 9 and 2, you get 2. 1 and 1, 2. My husband's a 2. My son is a 2. I'm a 2. So it all kind of intermingles, I think.
Wow. Yeah. It's a strange thing. All these strange coincidences, numbers. Certain numbers kind of follow you through life, don't they? And I think it's all kind of connected a lot with that, with the idea of the time we're born. Yeah. Certain things happen at certain times, and they're going to happen one way or the other, you know. I think certainly. But I've just got some good news actually, because Jane's actually feeling a little bit better, and she's going to come on with us. So
not too long.
Okay. You want to take a seat, Jane? We haven't got a monitor here. We have to do it part and part. I'll just get another seat. If you cross. Say hello.
Oh, right.
This is Sheila.
Sheila?
Hi, Sheila.
Hello, Sheila.
How are you feeling?
Well, I'm still in a lot of pain, but I'm getting there. So I'm trying to visualize and meditate for it to go away.
We really wanted to see you, and I was really looking forward to seeing you. I was a bit disappointed.
Oh, bless you.
Nothing to do with Boo. He's coming as well.
I won't stay too long because I'm going to start moving around. And But I was listening to your story there about the numbers and everything like that, because I always do everything on 108. Sai Baba's numbers. Where is Sai Baba?
Sorry?
Is Sheila where is Sai?
Oh yeah, she's.
And Sharavana?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, good. And that, so it's interesting to listen to your story as I came in and everything. But when you're with spiritually minded people, you feel all the energy, really, as if we've all known one another in previous incarnations. And
yes,
because Swami Sharavana told me that I was Indian in past life, and we played in a village. So I said to him, I know in a previous life you owed me money, so it's payback time. And he just laughed. And he's great, isn't he, Sharavana? Yeah,
he said to me, "You're a Western man and an Indian man in a Western body."
Yeah, it shows.
A big Western body, plenty of size. Yeah.
What's it he calls me?
Shakti.
And
me, Shiva. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he calls me.
So that was some interesting stuff there, Sheila. If anybody's got any questions, you can put them up on the screen. We are working without a proper monitor tonight, as I said, so you keep seeing us look to the side.
Yeah.
So if you've got any questions that you'd like to raise about some of the things and issues that Sheila's talked about there, we've talked about quite a bit about dreams that come true, about getting a prophecy. I remember one of the strange ones that happened to me was, well, not to me and our family. I mentioned it before. My nan, before the wedding of my sister, had a horrible dream in which my sister wore black, you know, and we're going to get the cat sort of it's a bit chaotic tonight, guys. Yeah, here we are. Come on, Boo, you want to give them something? Yeah.
He's following you.
And where was I? And yeah, of course it was a dreadful dream, but what happened is my sister's husband then did get cancer immediately after the wedding, 6 months later, and the bride wore black was true, but my nan was so upset, so upset that it happened and that she'd had the dream. You must read about Major Warwick, who lived in a place called Busgowan near Nainital. She lived most of her life disguised as a man in Nainital.
Perhaps I should do that.
I'm going to get rid of this cat.
I'm going to love you and leave you now, Sheila, but I'm very pleased to meet you.
Me too.
With God's grace, many blessings on you, my dear. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm going to get up now. I heard Sheila's voice and it sounded lovely.
You see, Jane can't resist it, you see, because you hear all this going on. Got to talk to you guys. I've always remembered my dreams since I was about 5 years old. They are always in colour, and I remember them in detail. Is this a curse or a blessing? I think it's probably a blessing, isn't it? I mean, it's always nice to have the access to dreams. Dreams are neutral, aren't they? Really, they give us information, and it's how we act upon it. And like in your case, Sheila, it didn't tell you exactly what would happen, but it gave you the gist of it, didn't it? And you could act upon that in a way.
That's right. And then fate took a turn. I mean, for him to become a judge, it was
it was a blessing, wasn't it? It must have been. I mean, you know, it's a good job to have, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So I've lost my notes now. I've had a rather chaotic evening because we've had monitors breaking down. I've lost my notes now. I've forgotten the name of our next guest. What methods help you remember your dreams? I always suggest that you use a dream diary. Keep notes. We've mentioned this before because we've done a few of these videos on dreams. And if you keep notes, a dream journal by the side of your bed, that's the quickest way to remember your dreams, basically. And try to get down all the spoken information first, because that fades first, and get down as many images and storylines immediately. Don't try to start at the beginning and go to the end, because dreams don't work like that. And I suggest write a mind map so you can get all the information. If you look up mind maps on Google, you'll find ways to get lots of information down quick that you can connect and associate together. Do you remember your dreams a lot? Found the notes. Do you find you remember your dreams, Sheila?
I don't have so many now that I used to. I have other things that come to me now. I think I'm much more intuitive. And what I feel is that I can't always remember, but if something is vivid, if it's a very vivid dream, it's not difficult to forget. I can think about 3 or 4 so far in my lifetime.
Yeah, there's 1 or 2 times you get these sort of grand dreams too. It looks like we've lost you. So we're probably going to move on to our next guest. But you do get, don't you, in life, you get every now and again, you get these big dreams that have been kind of turning points. I mean, I've had this a few times in my life. Certain dreams I can remember, not always recurring. Sometimes they were recurring, but they kind of came at a time when some big spiritual change happens in life. So I think dreams do have a connection with the highest levels of our soul. So I'm going to move on now to our next guest, because I think we've lost that wasn't Sheila there. I was calling Sheila Vicky and Vicky Sheila. Pat, that was it. Couldn't remember your name, Pat. Simple names are the hardest to remember. We're going to move on now to our next guest, who is Pat. And you're a bit closer to home, Pat, aren't you? Because I believe you come from Cornwall.
Yeah, I'm in Cornwall, sunny Cornwall. It's beautiful here.
Good to see you, Pat. So, yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
We had a bit of trouble getting your sound worked out. We've had early on tonight. We've had a few little hiccups today, but you,
Absolutely.
I think, had some interesting experiences you wanted to share with us of how you kind of got drawn into healing and spiritualism and that type of thing.
Yes. Yeah, it was quite interesting, really, because I was in the field with my dogs and I was running the dogs. I do dog agility, and I was running with them, and all of a sudden there was an almighty crack and I couldn't walk. My knee had gone. It was really, I mean, painful. I was hobbling. I really couldn't walk. And I managed to drive home. I got the dogs home and I went to the doctor and he said, it's a bit of arthritis. And I thought, what? That's not arthritis. I said, no, it went with a real crack. I've injured myself. No, everybody of your age gets arthritis. So, okay, then I said, well, can I have an x-ray? He said, yes. So got the x-ray and it came back. He said, there you are. He says, only a little bit of arthritis. Have some paracetamol. Well, I mean, paracetamol didn't even touch it. It was really, really painful. This had been going on for a couple of weeks by then. And you know, he said, just run your dogs as normal. And I said, you know, I can't even walk, never mind think about running. So I got home and I thought, well, you know, I'll try the physiotherapist. Well, they said, well, yes, you can make me an appointment. It's be 4 months. Is that all right? Oh, not really. So, I just didn't know what to do really. And then I remembered I'd come past the spiritualist church, and outside it said, free healings Monday evenings and Friday afternoons. So I thought, well, I'll give it a whirl. So I went down there on Friday afternoon.
Quite a big step, isn't it? Stepping into a spiritualist church for the first time, actually.
Oh, I was all on my own. I
Were
was
you nervous?
I parked the car and I hobbled up to the church. There's a little old man outside. I said, have you come for healing? He said, yeah, I've come for the healing. And I said, yes, so have I. And he sort of hobbled into the church. They carried his bag for him because he was worse than I was, I think. And but it turned out he was one of the healers. There was another lady came, two more ladies came along. And one of them took me behind the screen. That she had a screen up, and this little old man sort of hobbled in behind me, and he sat behind me, put his hands on my waist, and the healing lady, Pam she was called, she said, can you just give me a few minutes? She had to have a sort of few minutes to get into it. I didn't know what on earth was going on really. And then she put some meditation sort of, music on to get her into the mood. And then she started sort of putting her hands around my body, and she said, I'm balancing your chakras. She said, your heart chakra is really out of balance, and your sacral chakra. And she said, your husband's behind you. He's got his hands on your shoulders and he's giving you healing. What? Oh, that set me off. Oh God, I was in floods of tears because it wasn't long since he died. It was in about 2 months since he died.
So she knew that. Did she give you any proof too? Did she say anything that identified him?
She said, I'm not really supposed to do mediumship because you've only asked for healing.
That's right. You're
And
not supposed to mix
I don't mind, if you want to do mediumship. And she started telling me, what he was like, all his gestures, everything. There was no doubt it was him that she was describing. And she spent about 20 minutes giving me the healing, and she said, your husband liked yellow flowers, didn't he? And I said, yeah, he loved daffodils. And she said, he wants you to have a bunch of yellow flowers and they'll be from him. It was a little bit late for the daffodil season, it was coming up sort of to the end of summer, and probably end of September time. And I thought, where on earth am I going to get a bunch of yellow flowers? And he did love yellow roses. Anyway, I went off, and over the next couple of days, my knee started to feel a lot better. And so much better, I went off shopping in the co-op, and there right in front of me was one bunch of flowers, and it was a bunch of yellow roses, which he absolutely loved. And of course they were mine.
Uh-huh.
And so that was, I thought, there is actually something in this mediumship business. It's not a load of old baloney. I was always in two minds about it. Is it real? Is it not real? No, it can't be real. But after that, it was quite an experience to be in the spiritualist church.
So did you start going along to the spiritualist church after that and start getting messages and things?
No, I didn't go along there. I don't know why I didn't. Probably because I didn't want to leave the dogs in the evening or something. Because they only seem to be there in the evenings, apart from the healing on Friday afternoons. But I did start to look at a lot of things online. I started to do a bit of meditation and watch meditation videos, and then I said, who's this one? Craig Hamilton Parker, who's he then? And I started watching your videos, and I thought they were really interesting. That's when I really thought, well, maybe I could actually start to try and develop as a medium. But of course, then
spiritualism is the place to do that, actually, because I mean, I'm not here to preach spiritualism really, but it is a very useful place for people to learn about mediumship. Jane and myself, I developed outside of spiritualism, and then the first time I ever went in a spiritualist church was actually to stand there and give a demonstration. I'd never been in a spiritualist church before, except to give a demonstration of mediumship. And I did it for about 15 years or more. No, 30 years, I suppose. I actually was demonstrating in the spiritualist church. But the first 15, I was doing it 3 times a week. And it is a great place. If those that are watching this have never heard about spiritualism, it's a great place to find out about mediumship. The standards nowadays are not as high as they used to be. I think most mediums would agree that now, but but it's an open door, isn't it? You know,
it is. But when you start, I mean, you're not quite sure if you can actually do this. You know, you think you always think it's for somebody else who's got the gift. You know, and I didn't know whether I had the gift or not, but when the lockdown came and there really wasn't much else to do, that was when I started doing much more serious meditation, and I found I'm developing a bit of clairvoyance with it. And I seem to be getting some messages of some sort through the meditation. I had a message recently. It said, your next door neighbour is going to buy you a bunch of flowers. Oh, that's about as likely as me going to the moon and bringing back some Wensleydale. You know, my next door, there's absolutely no way. Well, a few days later, there's a knock on the door, and it was actually somebody who owns a holiday cottage the other side of me had brought me a bunch of flowers, and I didn't think of them at all. So
they're telling you, aren't they? They're telling you to work with it, aren't they? They're giving you proofs.
Yes, you know, they are giving me proofs. Yeah, because
when you start to develop, you know, as a medium, you'll get some amazing proofs. Particularly, it's like the spirit world try to give you, you know, you're going to be a medium, so they try to give you the absolute proof to you that you can know it's absolutely 100%. It's like I said earlier, once you believe in it, it's like it all starts to open up. It's not about I'm believing in it and conning myself I'm believing in it. I know it's possible, and then you get the proof. This is the whole thing about mediumship. You get evidence of what you've had there.
Yeah, because you don't know whether it's all in your imagination or not. I imagine that everybody questions that. You know, when they start to get some sort of message through, they question it. Am I making this up? You know, or is it real or what? You know, so so I think these are the proofs that are happening. I don't know whether more things are going to happen, and I should imagine it'll develop from now on. But of course, you know, we can't go to the spiritualist church at the moment because you know, because of the lockdown and whatever.
It's good to mix with people like that though, because it'll rub off on you, you see. And it also rubs off on each of us when we do this too, because we're kind of connecting anyway. I mean, our spirit is just like being in a circle, except it's a big one. You know, it just happens to straight from India to America today. You know, one, isn't it? It's still a circle of light, isn't it? It's still that we connect.
Oh yes, yeah. It's a message come up on the screen.
Oh, okay. Thanks, because I'm in the wrong direction. I can't see the monitor. I went through a period.
It's very tiny on my screen. Yeah.
I went through a period of time and I kept finding dimes, sometimes in unusual places. The strangest is when I woke up in the morning and walked into the bathroom. A dime dropped out of the leg of my pajamas. I never really knew what that meant. Craig, have you any ideas about that? It's a bit like you finding the flowers like that, isn't it? You didn't expect to find them. And I've heard that quite a few times, actually, because in my case, I remember I had a whole load of, I used to write a column for the Scottish Daily Record for a couple of years, or maybe it was about 5 years, actually. But I used to write this regular psychic column in there. And the number of times people used to write in to say that sixpences in the case of Scotland were appearing out of nowhere, you know. So that lady's had a dime appear, and it's strange. Like at the port, you know. I can't explain it. Yeah.
No. But shortly after my husband died, just a few days after he died, now. When he was alive, he always had to be somewhere near a toilet if we went out, you know, and we always had to pay 20p to get in the toilet.
Yeah.
So he was always saying, "We got enough 20p's? How many? We need at least 5." Oh my goodness me! And but shortly after he died, I was walking across the living room, and 20p suddenly appeared on the floor. So whether he's trying to get my attention or
pennies from heaven. Yeah, we get some pretty odd things like this. Often people see, you get proofs. I think the best proof I think comes when you get. I certainly think is the sort of proof you get from a medium, because it's like factual. You know, it's like it's spelled out for you. Your grandfather's name is this, and your grandmother's name was this, and that you did this as a child, and things like that, and all those sort of details that things people couldn't possibly know. But then we get proofs in other ways sometimes by, I think, the things that happen. You know, the synchronicities, the coincidences. You know.
Objects appearing
and objects like that appearing. So anybody else got any questions, do put them on now, because we're opening it up a little bit more so that everybody can put your questions forward. And don't forget, become a patron if you're enjoying this, guys, because you know, we're going to invite the patrons, and we open it up for patrons to come on for these particular sessions when we have these ones where we interview people. So Patricia's saying, I've been told by a medium I have hidden healing powers in my hands. How can I develop them? Well, I think it's like with everything, really, it's practice, because but you need to practice with the right people, really. You know, you can't really learn healing from books. You can read a bit in books and learn a bit. And same with mediumship, you can learn a certain amount, and you can go to workshops, and you can go to you can watch videos about it, but really the proof is in the pudding when you actually start practicing healing. There's lots of different places you can learn to heal. The spiritual, if you're interested in spiritualism, I always think that's a good place to start. You can ask in your spiritualist church. There's a National Federation of Spiritual Healers as well. And then, of course, there's Reiki healing that's become very popular nowadays too. You can find them online. But it's best to ask around, ask for recommendations from people. And sometimes you'll be able to then join a healing development group, just as you can get mediumistic development groups. Yeah, so the local churches have this, don't they? We find that they have awareness evenings there and things like that as well.
Yeah. And I've had healing recently on my back. And that was actually distant healing. It was online, but the healer said she was offering free healing. She would work for 20 minutes on anyone who had contacted her. She was using Reiki.
Yeah.
And, you know, I contacted her and said I'd hurt my back. And a couple of days went past. And then all of a sudden, I could actually feel when she was doing it. And I went straight online, and I contacted her and I said, thank you. I said, I could feel it. You know, you're healing me. And she had just done the healing.
Yeah,
so we sort of connected. Yeah.
And of course, all the mediums and healers and everybody now is going online. All of us are online now. So, but the nice thing about it is, I mean, at a spiritualist church, you might have a small audience of 50 odd people, you know. But when you're talking here and you're doing the healing and all the rest of it, you're reaching out to thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah, thousands of people.
You know, and there's people are eager and thirsty to know about these things. And I think it's a wonderful thing that this ideas of absent healing, of you know, connecting, of development of mediumship, of all the Indian stuff that we've been talking about, all these things. I think, you know, it's obvious to some of us because we've lived and breathed it for so many years. But then many people are coming to this for the first time, you know. And I think spiritualism should get more online too, actually, and show their services online. I think people would learn a lot. Have we got another question up here? I have the same night terror all the time. I've done for years. I'm choking to death. I always wake up with heart pounding, but go right back to sleep. Would this be a spiritual thing? Thanks, Craig. Often, sometimes, I mentioned before about sleep paralysis. That's happens to some people when they go to sleep. They wake up and they can't move, you know. And I think we don't want to overinterpret physical sensations that happen either when you're developing mediumship or when you're meditating or when you're sleeping. You know, we always get strange physical things happen to us. When a medium develops, you'll get all sorts of strange things happening to your body, you know, all sorts of things. Your energy will be up one day, next it will be low, and things like that. So physical things happen, don't they? But we got to get to a point where we become balanced with it. So I wouldn't put too much emphasis on anything, whether it comes from a dream or from meditation or from whatever. Anyway, I think we're getting close to the end now. We've got a few more questions. My mother was my daughter's best friend, but when she comes into her dream, she seems angry with my daughter. Any idea why this is? Well, I would say to you, again, you say, I can't, I'm not going to be doing clairvoyance on it. We might do some clairvoyant ones later on, but tonight's a discussion. Again, in dreams, it's important to remember that the things that happen in dreams are often representative of our own feelings and thoughts and so forth. And they will often characterize themselves like a play almost. So the characters in your dreams very often represent the emotional things that you're feeling. So that's the way I would answer that question for you. So I think we're pretty much done now. Anything else you wanted to add, Pat?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that since I've been going into this mediumship thing a little bit more and a bit deeper since the lockdown, I seem to have had a couple of spirit guides come forward and show themselves to me. And one is actually one of my ancestors. I think he died in 1860. Robert, and I can feel him all the time when he's around me. And another one is a little Indian man who walks around in a white robe. I've actually seen him, and he had a struggle to get his name out, but he said he was called Chiwatha. And I thought, well, what sort of a name is that? And I looked it up. And that is actually an Indian, I believe it's an Indian name. I think there's actually a place in India, and I think it's also used as a name in India. I've never heard it before. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're starting your spiritual development, you'll start to get a very strong connection with your spirit guides. I mean, when I work now, I don't really feel the spirit guides around me hardly at all. I know they're there because I've had such a strong connection with them during my time in spiritualism, and in particularly in the time when I was developing my own mediumship, but also in the time I was helping others to develop their mediumship. My spirit guides and other spirit guides would come through. But this is obvious. You're obviously on the path, Pat, to starting to get, proper mediumship. Yes. Have you sat in a circle before? You haven't sat in an
actual... I haven't. No.
No, you're going to need to do that, really.
Yeah,
because
I will do.
You're getting bits and pieces. You're getting your spirit guides.
Yeah.
All this can take you so far.
Yeah.
But it's not until you sit with a group of people, guided by another medium, really, that you can really bring the gift on. Because it's like the sum of the sum of the whole is greater than its parts, as it were. When we work together, we kind of increase each other's mediumship hundredfold. Because when you put all that energy together and one person works, and then the spirit world can bring their energy to it as well, you'll find that when you were before getting little bits and pieces, when you get in a group, you'll suddenly find that you've got rocket power, as it were. You suddenly got incredible mediumship will come through you almost unexpectedly. This is general, but once the channels open, as it were, to mediumship, all things are possible. We can get all sorts of information. In fact, I would say one medium's not better than another in many respects. No. It's the fact that you just opened to it, and you can flow with it.
Yeah. So if I sit in a circle, I'll let you know how I get on and see.
Yeah. Because what you do,
you have to wait till that's allowed again.
You will have to wait, and a good place to ask is the spiritualist churches, and also ask individual mediums. If you go to see a medium demonstrating, there's no harm in asking afterwards, or asking the medium secretary if they can ask if he runs a circle, because often the mediums might be looking for people, or they might be able to put you in touch with a home circle that doesn't have a medium, because sometimes you can do that as well. Even if a group of people meet, they haven't got a developed medium there, you can still build your energies up. And get the energy. I wrote about that in the book Psychic School, how to do it without a medium, basically. Because the teaching mediums are few and far between nowadays, sadly. It's very hard to find a properly developed spirit medium. I mean, people do these workshops, but often they're kind of a bit like, are going to charge you more money than they should be charging. I mean, when I went to it was 50p. You know, that's what we had to give our bit towards the coffee. So it was 50p. And then you see some mediums out there charging people £200 a time to sit for a workshop that's just for Saturday morning, you know, and you're not going to develop in that time.
Well, I think the Spiritualist Church, they just ask for a small donation, don't they?
They do, yeah.
To keep them going, you know, they're not.
Yeah, it's sad they do, really, because they need more money, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you for joining us tonight, Pat. That's been very, very interesting.
Okay, thank you for having me.
And all the other guests that have come along tonight as well. I thank you all, because it's been nice that you've been sharing your feelings and thoughts and experiences, and I hope everybody else there did enjoy this tonight. Because it's this is the first time we've done this type of one, and we'll do some more like this if any of you want to sort of come and share your experiences. And I hope that was helpful to people out there, because, you know, it's always interesting to know other people's experiences, because you suddenly think, well, hey, a minute, I had a very similar experience myself. And I think all of us, haven't we? All of us sometimes have had a spiritual experience, even the people that are really armored to it and negative to it. I often find they say, yeah, it's all a load of rubbish, but actually there was one occasion that was this happened and that happened, you know. Might be a coincidence or something like that, but there's something that makes them think that perhaps there's a hole in this reality, you know. It's not quite as solid as I thought it was. It's not as rational as I thought it was. So thanks for everybody today for joining us and sharing your ideas, your thoughts, your experiences. Don't forget to put some comments yourself below afterwards too, because if you put your comments in the piece below, and you can share your experiences, and you know, people will comment on that, and sometimes I can pick up on those and talk about them in the videos that we do here. And so don't forget to become a patron, because if you are enjoying this, you can give a small amount each month, and it helps us to take things a bit further. We're very close now to getting the studio together once all this problems out the way with all the coronavirus, and possible steps towards the centre are looking good in the background too. There's a lot of people taking some real interest in what we're doing, and particularly also our work in India. We're hoping to do a little bit more charitable work there as well in the near future. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to say bye now, so see you soon. Bye for now.